monthly Facebook Live Ask Me Anything About Horses session. So come on in, bring your questions, and I'm going to answer questions around horses and whatever you have, bring it on and challenge me. Let's see what questions I can answer. So yeah, so no, it's really just an informal, fun event, and so you can just type in your questions, say hi when you see me, and then we get started. Let me just introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Carla Bauchmüller, and I help women over 40 who own horses and want to become more balanced, more confident, and more connected in the saddle. Yeah, so I'm focusing on the rider. Like, what do you do with your body, with your emotions, with your mental state when you know, like how do you say sane, stay sane? No, what do you do with your mental focus and things like that in the saddle? Yeah, so that's what I'm focusing on. And so questions around these are easiest for me to answer, but whatever else question you have about your horses, please ask those. And I see I have a viewer, so let me know where you're from. Let me see who that is. So please say hi, and please also type your questions into the chat because then I can, into the comments, and then I can go through these questions. So, but let me get started. So, yeah, as I said, so it's like for me, I am really focusing on the rider and the rider side of the equation. But I always find it's a feedback loop. You know, when we change something inside of us, then we're changing something in the horses, and then we can change something inside of us again, and we are building feel for what's really happening underneath us. Is my horse balanced? Where is my horse like leaning, or where is he struggling? And what can I do in my seat and my communication to help my horse like find his balance, or sometimes just be out of their way, right? Because horses can usually move pretty well without us on top of them or on their backs. So you know they usually can. So it's about getting out of the way as well, and then communicating what you really want and understanding what you need to do with different body parts when you want to make a turn or something like that, right? So one question. So yeah, hello. Say hi. Let me know who's there, and let me know where you're from so that we can start the conversation. So one question I get asked often is, what other things can I do to stay fit? You know, how can I make sure that my body really functions? Because we all know if we just ride, and we don't even maybe ride every day, we just ride, then it's asked a lot from our bodies to be in like perfect position and perfect coordination for 1 hour when 24/7, let's say 23 hours of the day, we are not really focusing so much on that. So there are a couple of things that you can do. What I find really helpful is when you have more awareness of what you're doing every day. Yeah. Oh, Jane, hello. iPad Jane. Hi, hi, Jane. Good to see you. Or see that you're here. Fantastic. And if you have questions, please type them into the chat. So, yeah. So what I find is when you have more awareness of how your body is moving in your everyday life, that makes a huge difference for your riding. So there are simple things. How do you breathe? How do you move from your living room to your kitchen? How do you walk? You know, are these things, when we pay attention to that, when we have more awareness of that, it makes a huge difference. Because these are things, no, like breathing, we do 20 to 25,000 times a day. So how about changing that a little bit, right? So it makes a big difference for the awareness of yourself and your body and your health and all of that. And also walking. We're supposed to take 10,000 steps a day, right? That's a lot. And I know not everybody does 10,000 steps, but even if you just do like, let's say 3,000, which is little, 3,000 steps, think about it. That's a lot of steps and increasing the awareness of how you're moving, improving that, making it smoother. That actually changes something deep inside of you that then really helps you to write better too. Yeah, so these can be things paying attention to what's happening in your body. And then also when you then in the saddle, like being aware of what you need to do, how do I need to move my body, etc. But I want to give you an example of how awareness of yourself and balance improved on the ground can really help you in the saddle. So, and Jane, you know this exercise, but I think you'll probably be happy to see it again or do it with me again. So there are a couple of different exercises, like even eye exercises and tongue movement exercises that improve your balance. It's kind of magical and it's just fantastic. When you think about it, what you need balance for, balance in the saddle, first of all, it keeps you in the saddle. It keeps the horse between you and the ground, right? So balance is a good thing to have so that you can stay on. Balance, a good balance, also helps you coordinate better, right? When you are struggling to stay on, then you get tense in all kinds of places. But when your balance is good, then you can move with the horse more easily and you can coordinate your movements better, right? So if I saw this bareback race on Facebook the other day where these young guys, they jump onto these thoroughbreds and then they gallop with those thoroughbreds. And when you see them ride, their legs are entirely loose. They're just hanging around the horse's sides. They're not gripping with their legs or anything. And these horses go full speed and they're rearing up and whatever. And these guys are just hanging on. But they are hanging on because they've got a fantastic balance. Yeah, so they can move. Their balance just moves with the horse, no matter what the horse does, and they stay on. Yeah, so it's really inspiring to see how they do this. But we can definitely do something to improve our balance on the ground. When you become better on the ground, then you can become better in the saddle, and your balance can become better. So let me show you one simple magical exercise that can do that, and that is tongue circles. And to see the effect for yourself, we'll do a little exercise. So let me see. Yeah, so you can see me here. So what we'll do, we'll just stand and make sure that you have something to hold on to. So maybe a wall or even like in the corner of a room. So in case you get a little wobbly, then you can hold on to something. And now we'll do something very simple and we're testing our balance. We're then going to do our little tongue circles and then we're going to test the balance again. So the first thing is that you just bring the feet very close together. Yeah, and you might already find, oh, that's already a little less stable. And then, and as I said, make sure you can hold on to something if needed. Then you close your eyes for a moment. And you might feel that you are swaying a little bit from one side to the other, maybe one side more than the other. Yeah, so give this a number even of how you safe, how stable you feel. Between 0 or 10, 10 being super stable and 0 being not stable at all. Good, and then you open your eyes again and then you move the tongue in your mouth so that you do this, right? So like behind the lips, make a few circles. Then the other way. Funny, right? Funny faces. Okay, now let's test the balance again. So bring your feet close together again. You might already feel a little different. And then close your eyes and get a sense of if you feel more stable, less stable, or the same after doing this exercise. So we're looking for subtle changes. Yeah, so something a little more stable, a little bit more organized will already give you a hint that this could be an exercise that's useful for you. Yeah? Okay, good. So that was a very quick run through. You can do that exercise again later and just, play with this. But what that exercise does, so now for some of you, you might have said like after this little tongue circles, you might go like, oh wow, I feel much more stable. For some people, it's really an instant wow, right? It's really improving something. For some people, it's meh, not really, didn't really make a difference. And for some people, the balance might have gotten worse. So all of these three things give us really important information about your nervous system. Because with these tongue circles, we are activating areas of your brain that are also responsible for stabilizing your spine. And this is why this works. For some people, it works where they get more stable with the tongue circles, because that is something where that specific activation of these specific areas of the brain was a useful input for your nervous system and your brain. So your brain was like, oh yeah, oh that's helping me. Oh, there's something. Oh yeah. Let me kind of engage these other muscles that are stabilizing. So we kind of triggered something. We engaged something that was useful for your nervous system. For other people, it can be an overstimulation. Like even little things like these tongue circles or eye movements can be an overstimulation of your nervous system. And then you might get more wobbly. But that's also telling us something about your nervous system where we go like, okay, that is probably something you should be working on. And then there are other exercises. So it's usually these exercises that you then shouldn't do for a bit or just in combination with others, because right now it's an overstimulation. So if you did too much of this, so if these tongue circles made you worse, do not practice them. Yeah, because that will make you worse. It made your balance obviously worse. Yeah, with tongue circles, usually not that many people where it really gets worse. Yeah, so usually this is a powerful exercise, and with most people that I see and work with, they usually have a really nice improvement with those tongue circles. But when you have other things like eye movements and other exercises, then you can see a difference really clearly, where some people go like, oh wow, really positive effect, and for other people it's like, oh no, that was too much, right? So I feel more wobbly, and then you don't do them, or you do them in a different context. If it was neutral, so you did not feel a big difference, then this exercise could be fun to do, but you don't really need to do it because it obviously doesn't really stimulate anything specific, at least not for balance. You can also test other things when you just use this one test, and I was simplifying it right now. When you just use that one test, then you're also really just testing that effect on your nervous system. Range of motion and things like that can be improved through this as well. So tongue circles, right? Isn't that crazy? And what I love about these is that they are so simple. These exercises are so incredibly simple. Yeah, so you can do them before you get on your horse, or when your horse is really well behaved, and you could even do it when riding. Yeah, and don't bite your tongue, right? And don't, don't blame me if you bite your tongue when you're riding. So, just, and as I showed you, just a few circles can be enough. Sometimes when it was a little too much, you can go with less and test it again, or you can go with more and test it again. You always test it on the ground, or you can also test it in the saddle. Let's say you do your posting trot and you feel a little bit off balance and unstable and wobbly or whatever, and then you go back to a walk and a halt and you do a couple of tongue circles, and then you start your posting trot again and check in with yourself. Am I more stable? Am I more coordinated? Yeah, because it can have this instant effect on, as I said, all the muscles around your spine that are stabilizing your spine. And when we have more stability in our spine, then we can get more stable and more coordinated in the saddle as well. Yeah, so I just gave you a little magic wand to change things if this was a so-called power drill for you. So a drill that helped you, that improved your balance. Yeah, and test it again when you are away from the computer and all of that, and when you have the time and brain space to do it again, because you always want to test these things and really see how they are affecting your nervous system in the beginning, so you test them like once or maybe twice in the beginning to see the effect, then you do not have to test them each time. So right now, if that tested positively, then next time you see your horse, you do some tongue circles before you mount, right? So now you can use it. And you can use it and do it off like twice a day or so, like after brushing your teeth or something like that. So it's a really fantastic little exercise. I sometimes do it when driving in my car, right? Do some of these exercises I do in my car. You cannot do all of them, obviously, like eye movements and things, better not in the car. But some of them you can really do in your car and while driving or, while watching TV or something like that. So I always love easy exercises that can improve you. And these exercises, I've only worked with this for a year and a half now, but very intensely. But it's adding to the things that I've done for 30 years, right? Because now I have something where I can go and tell people, see, this is an exercise that you can actually do at home that's very short, very easy, very efficient. Yeah, when people, as I said, sometimes ask me, like, what can I do at home to improve my balance and all of that? Then I can tell them, yeah, maybe do yoga, right, 3 times a week or 20 minutes, which is amazing. But not everybody can do it or does not have the, let's be honest, self-discipline to do it and the time when we have horses, etc., right? But tongue circles, there's really no excuses now, ladies. So do your tongue circles if they worked, right? So this is just one example of the things that I do in the Rider Balance Boot Camp. And so the upcoming one in September is, is starting to fill up. So if you want to join that one, let me just put that into the chat briefly. And if you have questions, ladies, I don't have questions in the chat right now. If you have questions, please type them in. But while we're doing that, let me type that in, because if you use coupon code SUMMER, you'll get $50 off. And it's $145 for 3 weeks of a boot camp with 4 live meetings. And it's an investment for life. Yeah, until Jane has taken it. So Jane, maybe you want to comment on what it did for you. So, it is something that's not just valuable for riding. When you think about it, balance is something that, yes, we need it in riding, but we need it in everyday life as well. I see more and more people and more of my clients say, oh, I cannot join that clinic or I cannot ride because I tripped and fell and broke my hand, right? Things like that. So I hear that so often now, that people just trip and fall. And that's, you can do something about it when you're yes, sometimes accidents happen, right? But you can do something about it where you help your balance, when you work on your peripheral vision, things like that. And then you might not have seen the step in front of you, and that's why you tripped. When you improve your vision, improve your balance, then your peripheral vision specifically, then you see it and you can adjust more easily. So, balance is definitely a great thing to work on. Okay, good. So, but do I have any other questions? Let me see. It's nothing here at the moment. Yeah. So, yeah, let me maybe just keep talking. We'll go a little longer, just seeing if anybody wants to join or if anybody has questions. But let me just share something else. So, another thing that people are always wondering about is, Jane says, everyone should take this class. Jane says, the class has helped me in my everyday movements. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, thank you, Jane. Yeah, and I get sometimes questions from people who've taken it, and I say, my 70-year-old mom or 80-year-old mom is really struggling with her balance. Could she take it? She's not a horse rider. And I say, of course, right? That is. It's specifically for horse riders, because I give you lots of ideas on how to use it in the saddle. But you do not have to be a horse rider to benefit from better balance. Yeah, so obvious. That's kind of obvious. Okay, very good. Yes, Jane, thank you. Thanks. It's so much fun too. Yeah, it's a really, as you can tell, like just the tongue circles, that's just fun. It's just the mind-boggling when you go, oh wow, this is crazy. How does that even work? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about how to write turns because I often get asked like where do I place my legs? What do I do with my hands? What do I do? What body parts do I really use? And there's lots of confusing information out there. And there's also different ways of doing it. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, so in writing, most of the time, I find it's a good idea to stick with one system. Yeah, so if you have, for instance, a trainer that asks you to bring your weight into the direction of travel, you should kind of stick with that, whatever movement you are doing. Or if you have a trainer that says move your weight away from the direction of travel, where you want the horse to step under your weight, away from your weight, you're pushing the horse away with your weight, then use that. Yeah. So there's a couple of things where you need to kind of stick to a system. With turning, it's the same. You kind of choose a system and then you do it. So I know that some Western riders, for instance, they bring the inside shoulder and hip forward to turn. And if you do that consistently, then your horse understands, right? It just has to be the same on the right side and the left side. So that works. I will teach you something different, but that I just telling you, this works. Then there is this idea of you turn the shoulder into let's say I'm traveling this direction, shoulder into the direction of travel, and the pelvis the other way. Yeah, so now I'm a little, so my pelvis would go this way and my shoulders, and I'm exaggerating. So now it's really kind of an awkward position. But that is something that has been taught often, and that I learned as a kid, and that also works. Yeah, it also works. I teach something a little different, and I find that is the easiest. I find the easiest way for a person to write a turn. So let me show you how that works. So when you think about your horse between your thighs here right now, and your hands in the riding position, and now come a little closer. Good. And now I'm turning. I'm traveling in this direction, and I'm turning my body into the direction of travel. And I'm exaggerating in writing. You wouldn't even have to do that much, but I want you to see what's happening in my body. Yeah, so when I just turn like this, so I keep the shoulders above the pelvis and the head above the shoulders, keep all of that aligned, and then I turn. And see how I would be turning a horse between my thighs here. Yeah, so if I turn this direction, how this thigh here would turn in, I give a little bit of support for that the horse is outside. This thigh opens up a little so that the horse has time or space to move over, but then your inner calf will be a bit closer to the rib cage so the horse can bend around that leg. Yeah, this leg will fall forward if you are soft in that outside hip joint. The outside leg will fall back a little, and that's what the rule books say. They say inside leg at the girth, outside leg back. I have to pet my cat for a moment. So, right, so that's what the rule books say. But when you do it like this, hi buddy. So when you do it like this, then it's kind of natural. You're turning the horse between your thighs, your legs are falling into the right position, and you keep your weight fairly even over both seat bones. And look at my hands now. See how my inside hand comes back a little bit, the outside hand comes forward a tiny little bit, but just so that the horse can bend. Yeah, so it's super simple. Yeah, and I sometimes say picture 3 pairs of eyes, the one in your face, one in your chest, one in your tummy, and all 3 pairs of eyes look through the horse's ears. Yeah, and it's a small movement, so usually if I go into a big circle, like this type of turn would be enough. Yeah, and you do not have to turn the head and look into the center of the circle because that's not really where you're going, right? You're going here onto the circle line, that's where you're looking at. Yeah, and make sure to not shift your weight too much on one side or the other. Yeah, so that's just an easy way to remember how to write turns and try it out. Like let me know how this goes, right? How you're feeling when you're doing it like that. Yeah. And it becomes so natural because then it is like walking on the ground. You just have your horse between your thighs basically. Yeah. So just wanted to give you that little tip. Okay, very good. So, Jane, I think it's just you and me now. If you have any questions, but I know you sometimes just like to listen in and learn, and I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. But then I think let's wrap it up. So, going to wrap it up here and wish everybody a beautiful rest of your day. And then I'll see you later. So, thanks so much for joining me. Bye bye. Take care.